Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the Paradigm AI Smoke Woods and Irons from Callaway.
Signature events thus far. Chris Kirk won the opener on Maui at the Century. Wyndham Clark, AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am, Saturday 60 that became the final round due to bad weather. And then Hideki at the Genesis. The remaining for the RBC Heritage right after the Masters, Wells Fargo, Memorial. And then after the U.S. Open, it is the Travelers. This week's field is headlined by world #1 Scottie Scheffele. Excellent track record here. He won in 2022, also with a T4 and a T15 in those last 3 starts, sandwiched around that victory. And Scottie sporting the beard this week. World #2 Rory McIlroy. He won the API in 2018, finished runner-up a year ago. In fact, he was tied for the lead, but bogeyed 14 and 15 with Kurt Kitayama winning. So they're at the head of a strong field. 9 of the top 10, 22 of the top 25 in the latest world rankings. 4 past champions, including Jason Day, who won here in 2016. How about 16 major winners, and then all 9 title winners on the PGA Tour this season. A lot of discussion. It has been the season of the long shots. Chris Kirk and Grayson Murray, Nick Dunlap winning as an amateur. Even Matsuyama was 80-1. The shortest odds, Jake Knapp at 40-1 winning Mexico with a field that, frankly, was lacking weight. By comparison, in 2023, we had 1 winner in the first 9 events at 100-1 or higher odds versus 6 this year. There were 6 winners in 2023 inside the top 50 in the world rankings. Just 1 this year. Wyndham Clark was 10th when he won at Pebble Beach.
The competition is obviously very stiff. I mean, there's no question about it. We've had quite a few first-time winners on tour this year. You've got some tenured guys that are contending week in, week out. You know, the official World Golf ranking is what it is right now. But I also think that the competition that we have is pretty stiff. I mean, you know, it's really good to see guys like Nick especially come up, and it just shows you the golf climate that we're in with kids in college coming up and playing that great. But, you know, I think that when you look at over the last few years and seeing the first-time winners and playing as well as they have, I think that's something that I'm more excited about, because on any given week you can see someone just pop off a win.
Yeah, I think it's harder to win out here than it ever has. I think guys play more aggressively, and the scores, as you can see, are lower and lower seemingly every year. I always marvel at the beginning of the year how many under par guys shoot at the Century. It's essentially the same golf course, but guys keep shooting lower and lower. And yeah, I mean, I think winning, you got to keep putting yourself in position time after time. Excuse me. And some of those weeks you get the right break at the right time. You hit a couple putts that instead of going on the lip, they go in. And usually those are the weeks that you win.
Xander, 9 tournaments into the season, we've only had 1 guy inside the top 50 win. Do you have a good explanation for why that is? And if not, can you make one up?
Can I make one up? 9 events isn't a really big sample. I think there's still a lot of golf to be played, and we're kind of getting into what I'd call sort of the thick of the season. So I imagine you start seeing some of the higher ranked players winning.
Rolf, what do you think's at work here?
Wow, yeah, it's very interesting, and I can tell you the PGA Tour desperately needs a big-time winner with a big-time performance this week. When I heard Will Zalatoris say, you know, that it's great to see the first-time winners, and I think it is for the players. I'm not sure it is for the fans as much. I think the signature events were created to get the best players together as often as possible. This is halfway through the signature event season now, and we still haven't seen the kind of results that would really say, wow, this has really worked out well. If you think about the Arnold Palmer Invitational, Tiger Woods, in a stretch from 2000 to 2013, won this tournament 8 times in 13 tries. That hasn't happened recently. PGA Tour could really use something like that to happen, but Tiger's not in the field. So this is going to be a big week to see whether or not a guy like Scheffele, a guy like McIlroy, you know, can kind of respond and keep up with the schedule that they have had here, which is really good play.
We can sit here, and I think everybody agrees the tour could use a Sunday battle royale with Ricky Fowler, Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, Ludwig Åberg, all the top guys going at it on Sunday afternoon. But Hollywood doesn't write the scripts in this game. If Hollywood did, then Rory would have won last year, not Kurt Kitayama. I think lots of things can be true. Yes, it's true that just in terms of box office, they could use a good lineup this weekend with the mega stars. But it's also true what the players were saying. It's harder to separate yourself. We saw it with Nick Dunlap. The gap between elite college players and the PGA Tour has narrowed considerably. It's equipment, it's speed training, it's all of that. The gap between the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour, maybe not as wide as we thought. Matthew Pavone won the Farmers Insurance Torrey Pines. The gap between the Korn Ferry Tour players and the PGA Tour, I think it is narrower than it has been. Guys are coming right off that tour, Eckroat and Jake Knapp, and they're winning. That said, I think there is a palpable sense out there, given all that's happened, all the money that's flowing, that you guys want to be paid like stars. You want all these guarantees. Go ahead and get what you can. Nobody's knocking that. Then play like a star. Show up, which leads to the other question. Who really are the stars on this tour? Who's a legitimate bona fide star?
Well, Rory McIlroy, number one.
Who else?
Without a doubt. I think Scheffler is a star.
Spieth is a star.
I think Spieth is a star, but it's a handful, I would say. Here's the difference between the golf fans and a lot of other sports fans, Rich. Sports fans in general love a couple of things with their athletes. They love stars, they love personalities, they love great performances. Golf has fans that have an option. Other sports don't necessarily. And the option for golf fans is that they can go play the game, particularly on a nice weekend. If you're a football fan, you can't go out and play a Super Bowl. You can't go out and play even a women's college basketball game. So watching it on TV and getting your sports fix is the way to do it there. But with golf, I really believe it's important to deliver the big-time stories, the big stars, the big personalities, especially in these signature events. This is a very important week.
I don't think there's any doubt. We would be disingenuous if we said otherwise, that some of the big names with big games left to go to live, and that has had an impact. I mean, you're talking about Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau. When he drove the lake here at number 6 a few years ago, they were going to build a business around him. John Rahm, more recently. I mean, these are guys, whether you like them or not, that have big presence. And, you take those guys away, that's 4 or fewer guys to dot these leaderboards. That's clearly had an impact.
Sure, and you got to keep in mind that one of the important parts of a fan base in any sport is a rooting interest. If you think about, the NFL, for example, there's a regional interest in National Football League teams that hold a certain fan base. But you also have to have players that you root against. And part of the issue for the PGA Tour is that LIV has taken away almost all the villains. We talk about the personalities going there, but the villains have also gone there. Who's going to root against Rory McIlroy or Nick Taylor or Kurt Kitayama, for that matter?
And you wonder if some of the star players have not been distracted by the business of the business they're in. Phone calls at 8 in the morning talking about it on the range. You can't go 4 feet out here without talking about it being what's happening in the sport.